So I'm here at Windhill Bike Park for the first time actually with Chris Smith and his new Haibike. Let's do a little bike check and discuss this bike.
So this is the Enduro 8 model, so this is a little bit different. So this is a Freeride edition. Normally the Enduro platform is 180mm travel, single crown fork up front, and you have an Airshock on the rear. But this Freeride one, as you can see, is that Öhlins downhill fork up front and the Öhlins coil shock on the rear, which makes it a bit different and really good for sending all this big stuff.
Yeah, I can imagine. Well, and I can't imagine because I've looked at some of this stuff. And yeah, let's start at the front end. So we've got obviously the Öhlins fork that you've mentioned. Yeah. Triple clamp on this one. Yeah,
Öhlins DH38 fork. Actually had this tweaked by the guys at TF Tune. They did a really good tune on it for me. So it's perfect for all the big hits. I'm loving that actually. It gives me confidence looking down at a dual crown fork instead of that single crown fork when you are sending it on the big stuff.
Magura brakes?
Yeah, Magura brakes, big rotors on this. I think they're the 220 rotors, but they're floating rotors on there, so they actually float as well, which is a really nice touch. Obviously 4-piston as well, so you've got some amazing power. The levers are really good, like really ergonomic as well. The blade design is really good too, so getting on with them.
Floating rotors, perfect for those alpine descents.
Like we get here.
Yeah, like 1 minute descent.
I don't know what
here.
the elevation is here, but yeah, it's probably not comparable to the Alps, not quite.
And then as we work our way further back, you've got Bergtech bars and race face stem as well.
Yeah, so stock this bike actually comes with a race face downhill, Chester downhill bar, which is, it's quite a flat bar, and for me riding the style I have done, you know, jump bikes and motorbikes and that, I quite like a high front end, so I have swapped those bars out to a 50mm Bergtech Bryceland Ride High bar. Obviously kept the original direct mount stem on there, but yeah, that's pretty much anything I've changed on this bike. Actually the whole thing is stock.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And then you've got a Yamaha system with what size battery?
720 watt-hour battery on this.
Okay. How do you find the Yamaha?
Yeah, really good. So it's PWX3 on this. There's 85 newton meters of torque, so pretty punchy. And I've actually managed to climb up some stuff that I haven't, not on this bike, but using that motor on, you know, I did a big steep slab. It's on my Instagram if you want to check it out. But that I previously failed on a few other brands and different motors, but that actually got up there within 2 or 3 attempts. Actually, I was pretty blown away, and it's really nice ride, super reliable. It's probably, I don't want to say it, but I think if I was going to buy a motor, I would look for a Yamaha motor. You know, I've got a bike that's 5 years old in my garage and it still works to this day.
There we go, tempt fate there. And then as we work up a bit higher, we've got the Öhlins coil shock. I've often found that a coil shock on an e-bike doesn't always kind of suit, but in this case?
I'd agree. I think for this bike and its use, intended use, you know, is like bike park, downhill. I think a coil is a definite benefit for this bike. You know, you're not worried too much about pedaling efficiency. It's all about bump absorption and feeling good. And I think, again, on the big stuff, it's a revelation to have that. And I'd agree with you on, I think, a general day-to-day e-bike and Airshock is good for, you know, you set it up for what style of riding you're doing that day, be it cross-country or bike park, add or let air out of it. But yeah, no, it's good.
And as we move further to the rear triangle, we've got SRAM drivetrain.
Yep. So on this bike, got SRAM Eagle cassette on there, which is a really cool thing. I think on some previous downhill bikes that I've seen on the market, some of those guys have actually been using road cassettes or like downhill cassettes, which of course like a smaller ratio. But then I think on a downhill bike, part of it is obviously going back up the hill, so you need a decent range of gears to get back up the hill. Yeah. With that 52 tooth sprocket on that Eagle setup, it's amazing climbing. I can't believe I'm riding a big downhill bike with a big triple clamp up, you know, some of this crazy climbs that you'd be pushing bikes up back in the day. It's
amazing just for sessioning sort of bits, especially here, like if there's one feature that you're working on, like the fact that you've got that is unbelievable.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And then finally the Mavic wheel set.
Mavic Dmax wheels on there, so 27.5 at the rear, 29 are up front, with some Schwalbe sticky rubber on there. Again, really good for this sort of setup. But yeah, loving the whole bike. It's absolute beast for this, and it's one of my favourite downhill bikes for sure.
Yeah, it's a stunning looking bike, and I'm sure Chris is going to have a lot of fun.